Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is September the 20th, 2025. Hopefully, this episode finds you well, in good spirits, and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Today's been good so far. We are in the afternoon phase of the day as of recording. I've had a pretty productive morning, especially considering how, we went into a late night workout into a dinner situation, and then we woke up early to get after it at the gym. So, we can just kind of start there. Gym session went well. We did some lifting. Lifting went well, went good. I didn't go as hard today. I just kind of woke up feeling sore. I think I just didn't have enough rest. But that's all right. We hit it again and we hit it hard as we could. I mean, it was about 225 max on the bench and the squat and the deadlift type of situation. But overall went well. I did have to cut my cardio a bit short for the day. I'm actually on a tight schedule. Don't want to spoil anything. Not that it's not that there's a big reveal or anything, but I'll save the day for tomorrow to explain what's going on today. But anyway, so I had to cut my cardio a bit short. Just did a bit of Stairmaster, a bit of treadmill, and then got back home. So, here we are, ready to yap. So we will go ahead and get right into it. We'll do the startup because that's tradition. And then we'll go ahead and get into it. Talk about some news. All right. First story comes from ABC News. Utah trucker arrested after teens found in 29-degree refrigerated trailer. A Utah truck driver was ordered to be held without bail after two young girls were discovered locked inside his refrigerator trailer following a traffic accident in Linden, Utah, authorities said. Jacob Ortel Scott, 28, was arrested Wednesday after Utah state troopers found a 12-year-old and a 14-year-old girl trapped inside his tractor trailer's refrigerated compartment on Interstate 15 in Linden, according to court documents. Troopers discovered the girls during an inspection when they discovered two sets of eyes inside the trailer, officials said. When questioned, Scott initially appeared surprised, but then admitted there were children inside after consulting with his passenger, according to the arrest affidavit. So that would be so fucking spooky. You're doing a textbook, traffic accident, incident, whatever, and you're doing your inspection. You see eyes looking at you, like, oh my god. And then the guy being like, what? There's kids in there? Huh? Mind you, when they go in, they see, and this is a refrigerated trailer that stays at a temperature of 30 to 29 and a half degrees, 29.5. There's bedding. So clearly they didn't just wander in here on some stowaway shit. Like, they are here. They've been put here. Let's see. I want to pull some more from the article. Officials said the girls had no way to exit the refrigerated space on their own. The children were interviewed by agents from Utah State Bureau of Investigation and Department of Child and Family Services. Scott was taken to a local hospital for a possible hand injury before being booked into Utah County Jail. Judge Sean Peterson ordered Scott held without bail, citing substantial evidence and determining he posed a substantial danger to others. Court records showed Scott had prior misdemeanor convictions, but no felony record. And they don't have a lawyer assigned to him at this time. So yeah, starting off with a dark doozy over there. Over in Utah. But if I hear any more from this story, I will definitely come back to it. Let's go ahead and move on to our next story from the Associated Press. U.S. has carried out another fatal strike targeting alleged drug smuggling boat, Trump says. President Donald Trump said Friday the U.S. military has carried out its third fatal strike against an alleged drug smuggling vessel this month. Trump, in a social media posting, said the strike killed 3 and was carried out against a vessel affiliated with a designated terrorist organization conducting narco trafficking in the U.S. Southcom area of responsibility. He did not provide more precise details about the location of the strike. The Pentagon deferred questions about the strike to the White House, which did not respond to a request for clarity about the origins of the vessel. Intelligence confirmed the vessel was trafficking illicit narcotics and was transiting along narco trafficking passage en route to poison Americans, Trump said in the Post. But very scant on details. I didn't even hear like a Tren de Agua mentioned, didn't hear Venezuela mentioned. So, I mean, it's just getting vaguer and vaguer. This was the second strike this week. And I thought it was literally a deja vu where I was rereading something because I'm like, you killed another 3? Like, okay, all right. So, yeah, I mean, and it's just weird to be so braggadocious about what we are doing here. In the Caribbean right now, which is essentially, it's like, hey, if you're out in this area, we're just gonna blow you up. We're not gonna arrest you. We're not gonna do any kind of due process. We are just going to end your life. And then they even meme it. And I guess I wanted to kind of close this part of the article, or close this article out with this. It was at this moment the narco terrorists knew they screwed up. White House Communications Director Stephen Chung said on X in a posting with the video. So it's like they're really just trying to like meme it and make it a joke. And it's like, dude, you're literally blowing people away. Like you're just on site, just executing people more or less. So no, I don't feel good about this. That wouldn't be something I see on X and go, oh, I like that. Like that seems very eerie and evil to do. But here we are, trying to stop the poison from coming to America. I fucking guess. Anyway, speaking of stopping things from coming to America, from Al Jazeera, India says Trump's H-1B visa fee hike could disrupt families. India says the Trump administration's move to implement a new $100,000 annual fee on H-1B1 worker visas in the United States is likely to have humanitarian consequences, warning of potential disruptions for families affected by the policy. In a statement on Saturday, India's foreign ministry said New Delhi hopes the disruptions can be addressed suitably by the authorities in the U.S., adding that the full implications of the policy are being studied by the government. H-1B visas allow companies to sponsor foreign workers with specialized skills, such as scientists, engineers, and computer programmers, to work in the U.S. initially for 3 years, but extendable to 6 years. Now, essentially, from what I've gathered, the overall average price of one of these visas is about anywhere from I think $3,000 to $7,000. But now it is being racked up to $100,000. You can also get the what is it? I forget what it's called, but the $1 million gold card instead of the green card. I believe it also has Trump's fucking face on it, which is okay. That's great. But essentially, you pay $1 million, and then you get to just get fast tracked to become a U.S. citizen, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I mean, they're saying like, hey, this is a better deal for America. This way, we're not getting ripped off in the deal. But meanwhile, you're making it even harder to get people that you want in the workforce, especially if we're talking like tech, engineering, all that kind of stuff. And you're making it harder for them to come here and work. And I mean, you can try to make the defense of like, well, we're investing in America with this, and we're going to have more American workers come into the field, and that'll be good and that'll be better. But most likely, this is going to be bad all around, and companies don't want to hire within. They would love to hire without for cheaper, and this is going to disrupt that at the very, I feel like that's like really what these companies and like the Elon Musks and stuff of the world have been clamoring and whining about, because they don't want to fucking have to pay more to front this, and they're not. They're eventually just going to be like, all right, we're not going to sustain this. But then it's also going to make things harder for people who are already in the country on these visas. So I definitely don't like this. I think it's really fucked up. I think it's sad that you're putting people in a state. You're putting people in a state of crisis, having to worry about what their year to year is even going to look like, and it already is stressful. We talked about the South Koreans who were in that Hyundai plant situation. They were all abiding by the book, going by the letter of the law, and they get scooped up and put in handcuffs and put on a plane. So it's already stressful as is, and now you're making it more expensive. And that deal is supposed to, go into place as of Saturday night. So like midnight. So yeah, there we go. Let's see. Yeah, the new H-1B measure, which will likely face legal challenges, was announced alongside the introduction of a $1 million gold card U.S. residency program. So yeah, I mean, we'll see what comes of this. I think it most likely will have negative effects, or at least more negative effects than positive ones. But we shall see. We shall see. Of course, we'll come back to talk about that when it comes and goes, or whatever. Anyway, for our next story, it is out of ABC News. CDC panel abandons COVID vaccine recommendation, saying it's a personal choice. A panel of vaccine advisors on Friday voted to abandon its previous universal recommendation for annual COVID-19 vaccine shots for anyone 6 months and older, with the committee unanimously voting to instead suggest that Americans can get the shot based on individual-based decision-making, meaning it's a personal choice. The Department of Health and Human Services told ABC News federal vaccine programs will continue to cover the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention policies, or the CDC, and many major insurers said they would continue to cover the cost of the vaccines through at least 2026, no matter how the committee voted this week. So that very last part is pretty key to me. I'm glad that they are at least saying, hey, we're still going to front the bill on this stuff in terms of like the insurers till 2026. Granted, I mean, you got to put some ellipses on that because we don't know what the future holds if they're going to continue to do so. So that's why this was already kind of like a major conversation point of like, well, how relaxed are we about to be? There's no way that we're going to stick to the script, unfortunately, which is a shame, at least in my opinion. But saying, oh, it's essentially just if you do if you feel like it. I'm not surprised to hear that. I feel like politically, socially, that's kind of where we're at, especially as Americans. Like, yes, COVID is still a fucking thing. Yes, it's still on the rise, especially, as we get closer to the winter. But people are like, it's old news. It's just like the flu. I don't really want to fucking worry about it. So this relaxed policy, I think, kind of matches that vibe. At least that's something that I feel like as an Ohioan right now. But do I think it's necessarily a good idea to relax it like this? No. I think it potentially makes a problem, especially if and when you have to about face when COVID gets more, or if COVID gets worse, and, we have to deal with an even worse strain or worse, like, it hits those pandemic levels. What are we going to do then? Are we just going to try to about face super quick? I feel like that's going to be hard to convince people that it's going to be worth it. And that's if an administration like this would do that right now. And I highly doubt that, and if it did get worse. In a separate vote, members decided not to suggest that states require a prescription for COVID-19, for the COVID-19 vaccine, with many members saying this would create unnecessary barriers. So that was another good takeaway, because that was something that was kind of being thrown around. That would just make it even harder to get a vaccine that you need to get. So I'm glad that that's not an extra stipulation, at least for right now. And in another separate action, members voted that that CDC communicate clear risks about COVID-19 vaccines. Materials that states can choose to give patients when they get vaccinated that list at least 6 of those risks. Now, I mean, hey, it's good to know what you're taking. I think that's all well and good. I think that's fine. But overall, scientifically, we've proven that the COVID-19 vaccine is fine. And it is good for you. And their side effects and potential risks or whatever, like any other fucking vaccine, any kind of thing you're going to take, they are easily mitigated, I feel like, and within the realm of reason to take it. And I know I'm sounding really stupid, but whatever. Just walk with me here. I'm not a fucking scientist. I'm a guy in an armchair. Mass is trash. But, I think that this is going to make it, once again, be one of those things where go, oh, well, I'm seeing all these potential risks. Maybe I shouldn't take it. Maybe I should just, go without it or try something else. And, I don't know. We'll see how much of an effect that has on people. Let's see. There was more. They delayed a hepatitis V vaccine recommendation for newborns. So we might come back to the CDC about that in the future. But yeah, let's go ahead and move on, though, to our very last story. And we're going to go to Chicago. But before we do that, let's take our last break. Our last story comes from The Guardian. Federal agents used tear gas and pepper balls to break up a Chicago ICE protest. Federal law enforcement agents used tear gas and pepper balls to disperse a group of about 100 protesters, including 2 Democratic candidates for Congress, during a series of early morning clashes outside an Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, building in Chicago on Friday. Demonstrators had attempted to block a number of government SUVs from entering and exiting the facility, which has become an operation hub and detention location during an immigration crackdown in the Democratic city dubbed Operation Midway Blitz. At least 3 protesters were arrested during the scuffles, which saw masked Homeland Security agents dressed in riot gear fire pepper balls at protesters from a rooftop and launch multiple canisters of tear gas. One agent stood with what appeared to be an unholstered firearm. The facility is lined with razor wire and its windows are boarded with plywood. Kat Abu-Ghazaleh, a progressive candidate for Illinois' 9th congressional district, had sat at an entrance to the facility alongside dozens of other protesters before tear gas was launched into the crowd. Earlier in the morning, she was shoved to the ground by a masked agent as a group of vehicles entered the facility. She described the episodes as a violent abuse of power in a later post on social media, adding, "It's nothing compared to what they're doing to immigrant communities." Video of the incident was later reposted by the Department of Homeland Security on their official account on X with the caption, "Individuals and groups impeding ICE operations are siding with vicious cartels, human traffickers, and violent criminals." Illinois' Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stanton, a frontrunner in the race for U.S. Senate next year, was also present earlier on at the protest, although had left before law enforcement officers deployed tear gas. Excuse me. So yeah, I mean, all of this for 100 people coming out and saying, like, we don't like this shit. You guys got to get the fuck out of here. You guys got to let us see our fucking family. Like, stop this shit. And for that, you display this amount of violence and pushback. I mean, I think it's a fucking terrible look. And it's a fucking shame that we're going to keep doing this kind of shit. But yeah, I felt like it was definitely important to mention and close out the episode with at least talking about this. And it's sad too that I kind of have to do the grim silver lining that, like, I mean, I'm glad that we didn't get to a point where, we have like the National Guard in, Chicago. It seems like that conversation has kind of moved to, we're going to Memphis, which is Memphis, Tennessee, which is a Democratic area, the same, but it is a Republican-led state. So the governor kind of allowed it. The Democratic mayor can't really do anything about it. So that seems where the conversation was going, but I could always see at any given day, any given moment, Trump could about face and say, well, a situation like this, even though once again, it really isn't the protesters, I feel like, who are being unruly or, actually like pushing for violence, advocating for violence, but it really is law enforcement doing it. But Trump could easily say, that's enough of a reason. We're going to send in the National Guard, actually. So I hope that doesn't happen, knock on wood. But yeah, I just wanted to, cover the story before we close out for the day. But yeah, that'll be it. That'll be the episode. If you'd like to help out, support the effort, I do have a Patreon, patreon.com/Isaiah News. Become a newsie today. Free ways to hit me up, IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. Feel free to follow me or the podcast on any of the socials. Subscribe to the YouTube, follow on TikTok, follow on Spotify, follow on Apple Podcasts, wherever you like to listen. Leave a like, leave a comment. Sharing is caring. All the stars are appreciated. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.